We make the choice, the decision of how we feel, how we react. We can choose hope, we can choose joy, and we can find moments that spark those feelings within us. It's hard. I'm not going to lie, it is so hard some days, but it's possible. Well, hello there, and welcome to the podcast, to another episode of Queerly Overthinking. In fact, the season finale of season 2 of the podcast. Holy cow, y'all, we made it through another year. And what a year it has been. This season, I really wanted to focus on relationships, connections, and reflecting back on previous years of life and experience. And I really feel like we did a deep dive into all three of these specifically. And honestly, this year felt incredibly nostalgic to me. I think because I was turning 30 this year, which is just crazy. I'm still processing it. I also feel like it's been a year of self-healing for my inner child, which has just been so fitting for everything that I just mentioned before. And I'm really grateful that I tapped into that I didn't turn away when it got hard a few times, to really see myself now and to see myself then and to find the bridge between the two. For this episode, I want to just take a minute and reflect back on everything that we talked about during the podcast this last year and a few other thoughts that have come to mind. So with that, let's get into it. One thing I've personally expanded on this year is my understanding of what it means to be in connection with someone. Connections can vary in intimacy and closeness, in my opinion. Some might lack physical aspects and still be just as deep and enriching. Maybe they're more platonic, but that doesn't make them any less meaningful, in my opinion. The guests that I've had on the podcast this season, I have absolutely loved. My besties, Julie, Cassie, and of course, my amazing producer, Cass. And last but certainly not least, I was so incredibly honored to have my sister-in-law, Mary, on the podcast. And thinking about each of these episodes, they've truly become anchors for me, especially in times where we need community. We need love and support and a sense that we can depend on one another and champion one another. I really do feel like the saying that, the more you share, you actually relearn or teach yourself again what you're sharing with someone else in a way. And I really feel like these episodes have done that for me this season. Usually I record podcast episodes maybe about a month or so before releasing them. But this one I'm recording the same week it's coming out. So yes, it's a little bit stressful. That's personally because this last week was a lot to process, given everything that's happening in our political climate. I needed some extra time and space to work through it, and I'm grateful to have been able to have that. And I've touched on politics in past episodes, and I'm sure that I'll continue to do so. But today, I wanted to talk about boundaries, specifically setting them for yourself in these challenging times. The current political climate here in the US, personally, just isn't great. And it's a constant struggle to balance being present and aware of what's happening and also protecting my mental health. For me, that's meant, for now at least, stepping away from traditional media outlets. And with my therapist's guidance, they recommended following maybe more local or regional organizations that align with the causes I care about. This way, I can stay more informed, but within limits that work for me. And then I can be engaged or decide to activate in causes that I genuinely feel are going to make a difference. To you, the listeners of the podcast, I will say this. We make the choice, the decision of how we feel, how we react. We can choose hope, we can choose joy, and we can find moments that spark those feelings within us. It's hard. I'm not going to lie, it is so hard some days, but it's possible. This year also taught me to listen to myself and avoid burnout as much as possible. Truthfully, I've loved creating this podcast. I really do. And if I'm being honest, life happens. I wasn't able to keep up with it as consistently as I had in season 1. From the start of this podcast, I told myself that I never wanted it to feel like another job or a demanding project. It's meant to be a creative release, a space for me to express my thoughts freely and to take up space in the digital world. So with that in mind, I'm planning on a season 3 of the podcast, but I haven't quite figured out the logistics yet. I'm still figuring out when the exact timeline is going to be, or, just a general frequency of episodes. But what I do know is this: Queerly Overthinking will be back next year in some shape or form, because right now we need your art, your expression, your rebellion. We need voices, community, perspectives. We genuinely, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, we need each other. And that's really what this podcast has always had at its core, is bringing perspectives together, bringing people together. And I'm just so grateful to have been able to do that these last 2 seasons. Well, folks, I wanted to keep this one short, sweet, and simple. So thank you for tuning in to season 2 and sticking with me all year long. I can't thank you enough. It's always amazing to see how many people take the time to listen and even share their thoughts afterwards. And I hope that you've enjoyed this season as much as I have. Take care of yourselves and be kind to one another, and I'll see y'all next time. Queerly Overthinking is hosted, edited, and executive produced by Adam Harper, with additional producing by Cass Cooper. You can follow Queerly Overthinking on Instagram or TikTok at Queerly Overthinking, and you can find more at www.queerlyoverthinking.com.